Joining me right now is the founder of the Atlas organization. He is the author of China's Vision of Victory. Jonathan Ward is here. Jonathan, good to see you. What are you expecting between the Xi Jinping-Vladimir Putin meeting?
Hi, Maria. Good to be with you. Well, I think this is just one more step in their partnership. I mean, they're looking to show the world that they're still deeply aligned. I think for Putin, that's more important than it is for Xi, but also for Xi, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, I think, is going to become an increasingly important organization. I mean, Iran has just submitted to become a permanent member. It's really gathering all the adversaries together in an anti-Western coalition, which was formed 20 years ago now, and many people wrote it off for a long time, thinking that it didn't have any real purpose. But I think we're going to start to see its purpose in the years ahead. And for Putin and Xi, it's a security forum that allows them to counter the West. India is a member, and eventually we'll have to decide if they want to remain close to Moscow. I mean, that's probably the biggest choice that India has to make in this century, whether or not they stick with this sort of non-aligned balancing between an axis of dictators or join the West and join the United States. But as for this meeting, Russia and China call it the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership of Coordination for a New Era. So we shouldn't be surprised by everything that is that we're witnessing, from joint bomber flights, nuclear-capable bomber flights while Biden was in Tokyo in May, to the recent Vostok exercises, which included exercises by land and by sea, and the fact that you've had a flurry of very high-level meetings, presumably in preparation for the Xi-Putin meeting coming up, but the number 3 in the Communist Party essentially voicing support for Putin and for Russia, as reported by the New York Times and other outlets, and then also Yang Jiechi, who's responsible for, really the very bad meeting in Anchorage, earlier this year with our diplomats, is also voicing support for Russia. So I think the point is this axis is really forming now. I mean, the Russia-China partnership has been a long time in the making, and the Ukraine war is absolutely one of the effects of this partnership. And then yep. Taiwan is also, that's a very serious potential situation.
Yeah, I want to get to Taiwan in a moment, because we have real concerns about why Taiwan is not getting the weapons that they already paid for. But first, give us your take on how the CCP has taken advantage of the COVID crisis and just continuing to buy up land and infiltrate more countries, including America. The President's National Security Council spokesperson, John Kirby, dodged questions yesterday about China purchasing U.S. land, Jonathan. Tell me what's going on and why the CCP is acquiring land in America close to military bases. Is this another part of their surveillance campaigns of America?
Well, look, I mean, they're acquiring land all over the world for one main purpose is that, China can't feed itself from the inside. I mean, they have to feed themselves and supply energy from, external trade and acquisition. So they're doing it in Latin America and Australia and Africa, and they're doing it here too. And, we definitely don't want to have, farmland owned by an adversary government, certainly near any of our bases. I mean, we still have a problem with, Chinese ICT technology and drones and even cameras that are still used in the U.S., to say nothing of consumer technology that's potentially very invasive for the average American. And all of that really should be done away with. I think CFIUS is going to have to take a broader view of national security here and ensure that there aren't, Communist Party-owned assets in the United States, period, across a very, much broader spectrum when it comes to U.S. security. So certainly they shouldn't own farmland, and they should not own anything near bases, and that should essentially be, forced divestitures ultimately. Yeah.
Well, look, it's hard to get your arms around it when you've got the brother of the climate czar, Tony Podesta. John Podesta's brother is the lobbyist for Huawei. I mean, really. Isn't Huawei the main sort of vein of the CCP that's dealing with the surveillance campaign in America and across the world?
Well, Huawei, I mean, I think we've largely dealt with it in the alliance system, but we're going to need to finish the job on Huawei, which means taking it out in emerging markets. So, places like, Brazil, Indonesia, throughout Africa. I mean, China continues to build up an ICT capability and also other, pieces of the Chinese technology stack, including Alibaba and Tencent and even Baidu. I mean, anything with outbound operations and market strategies, particularly in the emerging world, I think will pose a challenge to U.S. technology dominance, and we're going to have to deal with that. I mean, China's companies are the outbound arm of their grand strategy. It's certainly where a lot of the important technology is created and where that goes to global markets. So we may have pushed that back in the U.S., in Britain and Australia. The Indians rejected it early on, but it's thriving in much of the world, and we're not paying attention to that, and that has to be essential to our, our own strategies for Africa and Latin America and the Indo-Pacific, all of which we need to work much harder on in the economic element.
Jonathan, good to talk with you. Thanks very much. Jonathan Ward joining us this morning.